Hello. Hi, good afternoon. I'm Gerry Bagtasa with the University of the Philippines. And first of all, I'd like to thank WNI for inviting me to talk about the role of the academe on meteorological studies in the Philippines. So quickly about the University of the Philippines, it was established in 1908. We have 17 campuses all over the Philippines with 8 essentially different universities and more than 60,000 students, but only a small portion for meteorology. So ever since, there's been meteorology courses initially taught by Spanish priests in the first part of the 1900s, but until now, we do have meteorology, and we are, in fact, a regional training center under the WMO. And we are the only academic institution in the Philippines that offers a graduate program or degrees in meteorology. So most of our graduates, they eventually go to the Weather Agency of the Philippines, PAGASA. So considering that the Philippines is affected year after year by so many typhoons, you'd be surprised that the field of meteorology actually just developed fairly recently. So in 2009, because of Tropical Storm Ketsana, which was around 150-year return period rainfall that fell in the Philippines, in Metro Manila, I mean, which had 455 millimeter of rainfall and actually killed a lot of people, 671. And because of this, there's a lot of improvements in the infrastructure of weather observation in the Philippines. Primarily the radar network, modeling capabilities, overall observation in the Philippines were improved because of that 2009 event. And this is followed by the involvement of the academe in disaster science. So since then, there's actually a lot of development in disaster science coming from the academe, doing LiDAR mapping of essentially the whole of the Philippines, making high-resolution street-level flood maps, landslide maps, storm surge maps, even rainfall forecasting and so on. So essentially brought by the 2009 event. So we've been also doing dissemination of information, educating, small towns in far-flung areas in the Philippines. Also wrote this book for senior high schools on disaster, not only for meteorological, but also for and flooding, but also for earthquake and things like that, fire. So also coming essentially from the 2009 event. So because of that, essentially we can trace most of the origin stories of many meteorologists in the Philippines from that 2009 event, and the number of students that we have increased because of that event, and also because of Haiyan in 2013. So a lot of students became interested in meteorology. Also, in terms of publication, this is only from our group, but publication also increased a lot because of the availability of data. But including other groups, this would be even more. So still many students now, they associate the word AI with LLMs and not really about data analysis. And we want to change that. So instead of teaching students about analysis of meteorological data, we also incorporate in our curriculum now this machine learning techniques, teaching them how to program. In fact, many of the students that go into meteorology, they don't know how to do programming. So we try to teach them programming, particularly with the use of machine learning techniques like gradient boosting, self-organizing maps, things like that. And we've also been doing research. Recently, I published a paper on TC rainfall forecasting using a regional AI model, and a colleague of mine is doing water resource management using AI technique. Excuse me, AI techniques as well. But we are, I believe, just still several years away from having these things operational. And it's mainly research for now and teaching, students to really appreciate the mathematics behind the term AI. Just to summarize, we have a very long history of extreme weather events, but most people, they don't really think about it most of the time, and it's only about the relatively recent extreme event in Metro Manila that really pushed the government, for example, to put a lot of money and resources into the field of meteorology and disaster science as a whole. Science or academic culture is still relatively weak, unfortunately, in the Philippines. There's not lack of funding for scholarship, but it's difficult to get students because once they know that there's a lot of mathematics involved in meteorology, they tend to not take meteorology anymore. In many instances, research funding is driven by disasters. So if you have several years without disasters, then there's actually no funding for research. But recently, because of the consecutive typhoon events in 2024, for example, I just saw in the news that there's a lot of funding next year. Climate change, the idea of climate change is well accepted in the Philippines. However, when you have changes in policies and the people in the government, they supersede the expectation of what we need to do with climate change. And I think overall, students, they have still a vague understanding of AI, so we still need to educate people on AI literacy. So that's it. Thank you.